Hey guys, what's going on? Chris Logan here, Virtual Wholesaling Made Simple. Really happy to be here with you guys again today to talk about an exciting topic, and that is my marketing plan for 2024 and beyond. Okay, so there's a lot of people who are watching right now who are looking to get into wholesaling, but you're just not exactly sure where to start. Maybe you've watched a bunch of YouTube videos like this one, maybe, and you're wondering which marketing channel you should start with, which list you should start with, how you should go about it, and really how can you get to your first deal as quickly as possible. So one of the things I'd like to do today is cut through all the fluff that's out there, because there is a lot of fluff online with how to get started in wholesaling. And one thing I'll tell you, one of my mentors shared something really, really profound quote with me, right? And he said that business is simple, entrepreneurs are complicated. So the same thing applies with real estate wholesalers, right? And people getting into wholesaling for the first time. People are complicated. So new wholesalers are complicated, but the business part is simple. It's easy. Okay. So you don't want to overcomplicate it. And I'm going to show you how to break it down so you can have an actionable plan that you can implement today, move forward, and get to your first deal before the end of 2023 or in the beginning of 2024. So let's go ahead and talk about that. Before we do, I love seeing where you guys are watching from. So go ahead and put in the comments where you're watching from. I like to see that. And then the other thing is you want to make sure to accept the StreamYard terms and conditions. And so that way I can see your name and I know who I'm talking with. And it's not this weird thing where it just says StreamYard or Facebook user and I don't know who I'm talking to. So, go ahead and put a comment and let me know where you're watching from, and then we'll go ahead and dive in. I know we got someone here watching from Texas. That's awesome. And people are starting to pour in here. We're going to give it a minute before we start diving into the content. But, one of the biggest challenge that I see wholesalers make, like I said before, is like overcomplicating the process, right? There's so much information out there and people are drowning in opportunity. And it's really difficult for people to get started because they look at all these different ways. They have this deer in the headlights look and they just don't make a move. Okay. And so I'm going to show you how to overcome that, clear the clutter, and just be able to focus on the next step of what you need to do to start getting deals. Give me 1 second here. Let me see who's coming on. Boom. Love it. Pennsylvania. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Yeah. So let's just go ahead and dive in, and we'll kind of go, and people can come on as we get going here. So, one of the biggest things that I see new wholesalers make, okay, the biggest mistakes is not picking one marketing channel and sticking with it, okay? One of the things that you need to have as a mindset as a wholesaler is I'm going to pick up a type of marketing and I'm going to stick with it until I see success. And when I see success, I'm going to continue with it, and I'm not going to add anything else until that marketing no longer requires my involvement, okay? And once you reach that point, you have permission to add another type of marketing. But the most important thing is to pick one marketing channel. And you don't want to do this stop and go marketing, right? Where you start, you go all in gung ho. Maybe you make a bunch of calls, send a bunch of mail, and then you just stop, right? Because maybe you're not seeing the results you want, or you go ahead and jump to something else that you're told is going to work better. And the biggest problem that new investors have is they get in this cycle of stop and go marketing, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, stop and go, right? So, or they jump around to multiple shiny objects. So what I'll tell you is that every marketing channel works for the most part. It's just, you got to work it. You got to be consistent with it. You got to stick in there and track your results. That's the only way that you're going to know if something's working for you or not, or how well it's working for you or not, is if you pick one marketing channel, you track results, and you do it consistently. It's consistent daily action that's going to yield results. So the marketing channel that I pick and that I tell all of my coaching clients to go with, anyone brand new to real estate, is cold calling. Cold calling is by far the lowest cost marketing channel that you can use to directly put you in touch with sellers. There's nothing that gets you in front of sellers faster than picking up the phone. Okay. So cold calling is the channel that we've started with, and we have all of our coaching clients start with. So they start with that. And then once they get their first deal, we go ahead and put a team in place. We go ahead and help them put people in place to automate that, so they're no longer involved in the calling. So one of the most important things to keep in mind when you're first getting started is there's typically 3 buckets of people. Okay. The first bucket is people that have time and not a lot of money. Okay. People that have money, but not a lot of time. And then there's people that have money and time, which are very blessed to be in that situation. Right. So if you are the type of person that has no time, but you have some money, what I would recommend doing is I would recommend putting someone in place to make calls for you, right? So you can get to those leads and get to your first deal faster. That way, all you're doing is you're talking with sellers, you're making offers and getting deals, okay? And it's going to save you a lot of time. So if you're working a 9 to 5, you got a little bit of money to invest in marketing, and you're looking to get started right away, cold calling is the way to go. Putting a person in place to make the calls for you. And then from there, you can just focus on getting those leads across the finish line. Okay. So that is by far the best marketing channel. It's been our most successful marketing channel of the last 7 years. And it's been the most consistent, predictable. A lot of marketing out there is very inconsistent. What do I mean by that? There's rules that change, regulations that change, and cold calling, sure, there's been a few changes, but it's been very minor. And at the end of the day, it's nothing major that affects your results in a big way. Okay. So picking up the phone, getting in touch with sellers, the best way to get in touch with sellers, especially when you're just getting started out. And on top of that, putting people in place to dial for you. Now, that may sound intimidating, but it's actually fairly easy to do. All you have to do is look for a company that places cold callers, and they have a good reputation. They have testimonials you can look at, and that is the type of company you want to put in place. One of the things that we offer for our coaching clients is we actually opened up a service where we put these people in place for you, so you don't have to worry about it. So it's exclusively offered to our coaching clients, but this is something that we're giving our coaching clients to help them get deals faster and just grow a lot faster too. So cold calling is the best way, but let's say you choose a different channel. Okay. Let's say you choose mail or something like that, right? So if you do that, that's fine, but you need to be consistent with it. You need to pick a budget, set a budget of what you can spend every single month. And you want to spread that budget over 90 days. So let's say, for instance, you have $3,000 that you can invest in marketing. What I recommend doing is taking that $3,000 and splitting that up over 90 days. Okay. So you want to make sure that you can do consistent marketing for 90 days. All right. So 3,000 divided by 3, that's $1,000 a month, right? So that's what you can afford to invest in marketing. And if you follow that path, that'll keep you committed to the marketing channel so you don't quit early. A lot of people quit too soon. They do marketing their first month, they stop, and they wonder why they don't get results, but they didn't keep it going. You got to keep marketing going for at least 90 days before you can make a judgment on it. If you need to do something to change it, if something's not working, if something's working really well, got to give it time. Okay. So pick a marketing channel. Again, I recommend cold calling to start out with. It's been the best channel for us and the fastest way to reach sellers, especially if you're just starting out. Going into the second group of people. So again, if you're the type person where you have, if you don't have any money or very little money, but you have time, then picking up the phone yourself is the best way to get started. It's a way that you can get in front of sellers in a very, very low cost way. And it allows you to do a lot of activity and get results very fast. What do I mean by that? You're going to talk to sellers and they're either going to tell you yes or no, right? The more no's you get out of the way, the closer you get to a yes. So again, that's just one of the ways that you can reach out to sellers, the best way to reach out to sellers and get in touch with them very quickly. You're not sending mail or something like that and just passively waiting sellers to come to you. You are being proactive, picking up the phone and reaching them. And a lot of times you can reach them the same day that you call them, which is great. So that's what I recommend. Okay. So first step is picking a marketing channel. All right. So the second step is, and by the way, if anyone, go ahead and drop your questions here in the comments. Okay. Drop your question in the comments. I'd love to answer your questions here live so we can make sure that you guys get the answers you need to get to your first deal. All right. So the next thing is picking a list. So the list service that we use, and I recommend to all my coaching clients, is PropStream. So if you want a 7-day free trial for PropStream, just go to getpropstreamnow.com. It's 90, and then you get 10,000 records you can download every single month. And that will give you enough records so you can go ahead and dial and get your first deal. Okay. So, so pick a list. You want to get PropStream. That's what we use. What I can do is I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see what PropStream looks like. and we're going to go through some of the lists that they offer, the best list to pull from the get-go when you first start using it, and what to do with the list once you get it, right? Because you're like, okay, I see these, these lists in PropStream, and they have motivated sellers on those lists. So how do I get in touch with those? I'll show you that real quick too. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, we're gonna go to PropStream. I'm gonna share this. Okay, extend session. All right, so can everybody see this? I wanna make sure you can see it. Go ahead and drop a comment. Let me know that you can see it. So this is PropStream right here. So basically when you log into PropStream, you're gonna have this map here, and then you're gonna have this search bar where you can put in counties, zip codes, whatever you'd like to do here, and specific addresses. If you want to value a property, you can do that as well. But let's just talk about the list for right now, right? So let's go over here to filter. And what you'll notice is there's a lot of quick lists here, a lot of preset choices that you can automatically select and not make too many changes to them, and they'll be great lists to call. Okay, so when you're just starting out, you want to make sure you're calling the list that I'm about to share with you, because this is going to be very helpful. All right, so vacant lists. So the vacant list is great. Right now, we're at a point in the economy where there's not a tremendous amount of vacant houses. So if there is a house that's vacant, it's going to be a very motivated seller, because there's a specific reason why. Maybe they didn't want to finish the property, they ran out of money. Maybe they got so sick and tired of the last tenant they had that they don't want to put another tenant in place, and they just want to get out of the property, but they have so much things going on in their personal life that they're kind of putting off the decision, right? Because they're very overwhelmed. So if you can target these, that's great. And you'll definitely get motivated homeowners from that. What I recommend doing when you have a vacant list here, all right, is, occupancy status, just go ahead. Well, actually, you don't have to do that because the list is vacant right there. What you want to do is to make sure you're getting wholesale deals here under property characteristics. I recommend putting a year built maximum of 1995. And the reason you want to do that is because anything newer than that is more than likely not going to be a wholesale deal, just because there's not enough equity in the property yet to where there's enough room where a homeowner could sell the property at a wholesale price and you could make the money you need to make on the deal. So we target properties that are earlier than 1995, but no earlier than 1940. Okay, so 1940 to 1995, that's a great range to select there. So you want to do that. You want to come over here, single family houses. I recommend if you're just getting started, just start with single family houses. That's it, okay? Single family houses. So we got vacant, we have single family, 1940 to 1995. You want to go ahead and come on in here and say on market, no, because you don't want properties that come up on the that are listed with a realtor. You don't want that. And then from there, this is a great base list to start with. And a base list, what I mean by that is this is a broad list. It's vacant property, single family houses built between 1940 and 1995, on market, no. And there's one last thing that you want to do. You want to make sure that these properties have a minimum of 50%. So estimated equity to 100%. There we go. So you want to do 50% to 100%. Okay. So there's a minimum of 50% equity in the property. So let's give you an example. Let's say a homeowner has a property, it's worth $200,000 and their mortgage balance is $100,000. So they have $100,000 in equity. That is an example of 50% equity. 100% equity means there's no loan on the property whatsoever. The homeowner owns it free and clear. Okay, so this is a very great list. You want to make sure to select unknown equity here too. That's great to do. And then you want to put your area in here. So let's say, for instance, you want to put Hillsborough County in Florida. Okay, that's an area, the county that Tampa is located in. It's one of our markets. And as you can see here, there's 2,300 properties that fit this criteria right here. Okay, so there's 2,300 properties that are vacant, single family houses built between 1940 to 1995. They are not on the market, so they're not listed with a realtor, and they have estimated equity of 50 to 100%. And we're even include the records where the equity is unknown. That's a great thing to do. And the reason for that is because these properties, the homeowner maybe didn't report the Maybe these properties were entered into the system before that was being tracked in the county. Maybe there's some specific reason that was held back from public records. But regardless, this is a great filter to have on there. And we found a lot of great deals with that unknown equity list, and not many people target that. So you want to do that. And so this is be an example of a list that you would export, and you would skip trace, get phone numbers for it, and you would upload that to a dialer. Okay. So that way you could go ahead and start calling these people right away. The dialer, if you're going to use a dialer, the dialer that I recommend is risedialer.com, R-I-S-E, dialer, D-I-A-L-E-R.com. And if you go there and you opt in, wait for someone to call you, they'll give you a call back and they can go ahead and get you set up. I believe it's $150 a month. And from there, you get unlimited outbound calling. It's great. It's the dialer that we use, and I recommend all of our clients. So, but let's go ahead and talk about this. So let's still dive into the list here. We're gonna get more into skip tracing here in a minute, but liens is another great list. Okay. So you can start with this right here, the same criteria that I put in. Okay. So liens. And then the one difference we do here is we'll go in here and we'll go ahead and put a minimum lien amount of $5,000. Okay. Because if someone has a $500 lien against their property, chances are probably not going to be too motivated, right? Because $500 is not, it's not going to be the end of the world. But if someone has a $5,000 lien against their property, and for some reason, they're not able to pay that, that could be a sign of distress, motivation. So that's what we're looking for. So you have liens, single family, that build year right there, not in the market, $5,000 or more, estimated equity 50 to 100%, unknown equities included. Look at that, another 2,290 records there, okay? Then you can just continue to go down the list. You can do pre-foreclosures. We're gonna go ahead and take off the, lien amount right there. All right, as you can see here, we have 804 pre-foreclosures that you can call that fit this criteria. Now, a great list to single dial inside of PropStream here. And what do I mean by single dialing? I mean, you don't want to go ahead and upload this to a dialer. You're going to call these people one by one because it's a really small list. As you can see with this criteria here, I have a very small list of 57. In auctions, these are properties here that the owner is facing foreclosure, but an auction date has been set. There is no seller that is more motivated than a seller that's trying to avoid an auction. The thing with pre-foreclosure, sellers typically who are going through pre-foreclosure are in a state of denial. They don't want to believe that they're going to lose their house. They don't want to believe that their property is going to go to foreclosure. So they're always looking for this rabbit out of the hat thing that they can try and pull at the last minute. And unfortunately, it doesn't typically ever pan out because how things have gone is how they're going to go. And they panic. And then an auction date gets set, right? So that's when reality is settled in. They understand they're going to lose the property if they don't move fast, okay? So the cool thing about when an auction is set, even though it's an unfortunate situation, you can still negotiate directly with the homeowner, all right? So that being the case, these people are very motivated to sell. And then what you want to do here, if you go to pre-foreclosure and bank owned, you can do auction dates that are set by the end of January. Okay, so let's try even December. This might be a little too quick for some people to work these, but yeah. So auction date between now and January 31st, it looks like there's 57 properties. So you could even go down this list, right? And you could call these sellers and see if you can help them, right? One of the things I definitely recommend though, before you start calling pre-foreclosures, you have to understand these people are going through a very big change in their life. That's very unfortunate, right? It's a tragic life event for people to go through this. So I recommend that you have a list of buyers ready to go where you can go ahead and make sure 100% that if you talk to these sellers that you can get the deal done and you'll have a buyer you can sell it to. But these aren't the type of leads to start on, especially auction leads where, you are brand new, you don't have any buyers whatsoever, you haven't done any networking, and then you're going to have this be your first deal just because things could go sideways and the seller could lose their house. And you don't want that. You don't want to waste their valuable time. So if you're going to approach these, I'd recommend partnering up with a known wholesaler in the area that has a large buyers list who can move deals. and get some coaching, get some training so you can understand what a good deal looks like. So when you make these people an offer, you know that you're going to be able to get it done. All right. So that's important. This is just one of the lists that I would say that is a bit more sensitive and to just handle with a little bit more care. Right. So now that we've done that, we've talked about the auctions. Okay. So we're going to take this off. All right. So auctions are great. One of the things, bankruptcy is a great list, divorce, great list, tax delinquencies. These here, you want to pull a list of tax delinquents that are 2 years behind on their taxes. And the cool thing about PropStream is you could actually go in here and even select that. So the tax delinquent year, so if they're 2 years behind on their taxes, I want to say that would be 2020. All right. So, whoops, nope, I did that wrong. Hold on one second. Max is 2020. There we go. The reverse. So there's 7. So there's 7 people in this county here who are 2 years behind on their mortgage or 2 years behind on their taxes or more. Okay. And the thing about tax delinquent properties is if someone's 2 years behind on their taxes, they're at risk of losing, at least in Florida, they're at risk of losing the house, right? Someone could literally lose their house to a foreclosure for $2,000 behind on their taxes. So this is a great list to target for people to call and see if you can help them, right? And again, this could be a great list to hand dial whenever you see, a list of like 7 records, 5 records, 10 records, just pick up the phone and call them one by one, okay? That's what I really recommend. A great tool that you can use for this is, let me pull this up here. True People Search. Whoops, hold on one second. There you go, True People Search. So True People Search, this is a great tool that you can come over here. It's a free skip tracing tool for one-off calls like this. You can go in here. You can click on this. I don't want to click on this and show the owner's name because YouTube will take down this video. I've kind of found that out. But if you click on this, it'll show the owner's name. And then basically what you do is you put the address into here, and then it'll come back with the property owner, their contact information and all that. And then you just pick up the phone and give them a call. Okay. And it's very simple. You call them, say, hey, my name is so-and-so. Is this John? Yeah, hey, John, I'm calling about a property I believe you own off of 1635 Palmleaf Drive in Brandon. Yep. What about it? Well, I buy a lot of houses in this area and want to see if you consider a cash offer, right? Very simple. Just asking if he'd consider a cash offer. He's going to say yes or no. If he says yes, get a little more information about the property and kind of go from there, right? If he says no, then no problem and move on. But this is the way that you want to approach this when you're going through and putting together your lists, okay? Another great list is the tired landlords list. So this is a list of people who own properties, okay, that, let's see here. Whoops, let me take off tax delinquent and take off the auction date. Here we go. All right, so this is a list of property owners that own rentals. They don't live in them. They own rentals, but they've owned these for at least, I want to say 15 or 20 years, right? And these guys are looking at typically selling at the cycle of the market that we're in right now. Okay. So these are great people to call, and usually they want to offload properties quickly. The cool thing is chances are they don't just have one property, but they have multiple properties. All right. So I'll give you an example. If you click on one of these and you go to linked properties over here, this is what I also love about PropStream. You can also see they own a few more properties, right? So you can see the value, all this, but it's also neat because they have other properties and that could be more opportunity for you. So go through, get PropStream, put in the criteria I showed you here, and start pulling your lists. Now, the next thing that you want to do, all right, when you are, let me go ahead and stop my share. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do once you've got that list is you want to go ahead and skip trace that list. You want to get the phone numbers for it, right? Here is a link to a discount that we have through one of our vendor partners, LeadFusion. And if you go to this link right here, basically what will happen is you will get 1,000 free skip traces, and you'll get an extremely discounted price for skip tracing. And this has been one of the most accurate sources I've used over the last 5 years. So highly recommend that. So you download your list from PropStream. You upload it into this service right here. And then what'll happen is he'll kick back the phone numbers. He'll give you the list back with all the phone numbers next to every address. You pick up the phone and you call them, or you upload them to a dialer. Okay. So once you have the list skip trace, the next step is to attack, right? Attack, go full on, dive into the activity, dial for a minimum of 2 hours a day, every single day. And I promise you, you're going to get leads, and those leads will translate over into a deal. All right. So we're talking massive, immediate, imperfect action. Don't delay. Don't stare at the phone. Just pick up the phone and start calling people who you can help, right? One of the things that I do that helps me when I was making calls, now my team does it, but when I was making calls that would help me get in the mindset of a conversation with a seller is I would always want to make sure that I focused on serving before I made that call. I think to myself, okay, it's not about me. It's not how much money. It's about helping this person on the other line, right? Serving this person the best possible way. And you know what? What happens when you do that? Your tone changes, your body language changes. Even though they can't see it over the phone, they can hear it. And you approach the call differently, right? You're focusing more then on solving problems than you are trying to make money, right? Because anytime you try and make money and you have that be the focus, the call never goes the way that you want it to be. And believe it or not, you will make more money by not focusing on making money than you will if you focus on it, right? So go into these calls truly with the mindset of being a servant and helping them. And I promise you, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. Okay. So massive, massive activity. There's a lot of people who say they put in a lot of activity, but they really don't. They're sitting in front of their computer, staring at the screen, and maybe they dial for 10 minutes and they say they dialed for 2 hours, but that's not the case, right? You want to make sure you're taking massive, immediate, imperfect action. That's the only way that you have success in this game of wholesaling. All right. I see that we have a few comments here. Give me 1 second. Bum, bum, bum. Awesome. Great. Yeah, more people joining, coming on. So, which brings me to my next point. Again, consistent daily activity. Okay, you want to focus on activity, doing the same activity every single day, day in, day out, to the point where it's boring, right? It's very predictable. It's consistent. And if you do that, that's going to get you closer to your end goal, which is, again, getting to your first deal. Okay, so far we've talked about picking a marketing channel. We've said cold calling is the best one to do that. It's been the most reliable and effective channel over the last 5 years that we've been doing it, 5 to 7 years. You can pick a list by going to getpropstreamnow.com. You can get that list, download it. I've showed you the list to pull, the criteria to pull. You got that. Then the next step is to upload that to LeadFusion. I've showed you the link to where you can do that. That's right here. Get the phone numbers back and start dialing on that list. Now, if you're going to dial on a big list, you're going to need a dialer. Okay, a power dialer is something you can upload a list of properties to, like a large list, like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, right? And you can click a button and it starts calling all these people for you, and then connects you with the seller right when the dialer connects with one. And then you're talking from there and you're like, hey, I hope you have the right phone number. Is this John? You don't know me, and I realize I'm calling you out of the blue. It's calling about a property off 123 Main Street and want to see if you would consider an offer on your property there, right? So that's kind of like the flow of how it goes. And then you just have conversations. You gather information about the property, you call back and make an offer, right? So, but again, consistent daily activity is what's going to get you to a deal. Okay. If you're the type of person you've tried to have success before in wholesaling and you just couldn't make it happen, I guarantee you is probably because either A, you didn't have all the information, or B, you started activity and then stopped, started and then stopped. But it's not your fault when that happens, because at the end of the day, it's about making sure you know the path to have success with virtual wholesaling. And there are some people that just don't have all the pieces to it. And so they get frustrated. They're not sure if they're on the right path. At that point, you may want to consider a coach, right? That can help you make sure you're on the right path and can share with you the plan that you can walk, that they've already been there. So, and have confidence that you're going to reach your end goal, right? Now, another big mistake that wholesalers make is not making an offer to every seller. Guys, you need to ask the seller how much they're hoping to get for their property first. But if they don't have a number, they're not willing to give you a number, at that point, you need to make an offer to every seller. Okay. We have a very simple process here with virtual wholesaling made simple, where if a property is in need of renovation and it has deferred maintenance to it, what do I mean by that? If the seller tells you the kitchen hasn't been updated in the last 5 years, neither is the bathroom, the roof's a bit older, the AC is kind of going, at that point, that's a property that's going to need some work, going to need some love, right? So those types of properties, you want to pick those up between 50 to 60% of the value of the property. How do you find the value of the property? You find 3 similar sold properties in the area, okay, that sold close to your property within a quarter mile. And then from there, you take that average, and then that's the value of the property, okay? That's a very simplified way of doing it. But then 50 to 60% of that number, that's what you can offer to the seller in that situation. So again, make an offer to every seller. Do not prejudge opportunity. Okay, do not prejudge opportunity. You want to make sure you're focused on getting an offer on every call. If a seller doesn't give you an offer again, or tell you how much they're willing to accept, you make an offer to them and do that on every single call, because contacts lead to contracts. The more offers you make, the more contracts you're going to take. All right, you're going to get those. So another big mistake that wholesalers make is not managing a pipeline of leads. A lot of wholesalers think, I need more leads, I need more leads, I need more leads. But what they really need is they need to manage their pipeline of leads better, okay? Be more efficient with the leads they've been given. Because if you're not managing the pipeline that you have right now, chances are when more leads come in, it's only going to overwhelm you, stress you out, and you're not going to be able to handle that, right? You're going to do the same thing to those. So what I mean by managing a pipeline is every conversation you have, okay, you need to have a note somewhere in some type of database, or maybe something, a word pad you have written down, something, right? You need to have an outcome that took place after every single call with notes, right? So you can say, I called this person, this is exactly what happened, right? And I know my next steps. Then the second thing you need to have is you need to have a task. So a task that says, okay, based on the last call, this is what happened, and here are my next steps, right? So many people leave money on the table because they do not create notes. They don't have notes that are clear from the previous call, and they don't have clear defined tasks as next step of what to do with that lead. A lot of people, they forget to do that. The lead just sits in their CRM, their database, or on a piece of paper somewhere that has coffee spilled on it, and they do nothing with it. And you know what? Someone like me or someone else comes in that does take clear notes and does manage their pipeline well, and they get that deal. Okay. So you really want to make sure, especially in the beginning, when you don't have a huge marketing budget and you don't have a lot of leads coming in, that you manage your leads well. You're a good steward of your leads because you're paying for them. And if you're paying for them, you may as well work those leads. Okay. This is something that not only affects newbie wholesalers, but also affects a lot of more experienced people as well. Some people think that, they are better than they actually are when it comes to managing their leads and opportunity. And, you pop into their CRM, you take a look at their database of leads, and you're like, okay, this one seems like a good lead, but what's the next steps? I don't see anything on here. We have a saying in my company where we should be able to pull a random person off the street, right? Have them open up a record in our CRM, take a look at it, and know exactly where we're at in the process of follow-up with that seller, or what stage we're at with that lead, okay? If your system that you have is not like that, then commit today to making that happen, because that's when you have good pipeline follow-up and you're managing your leads well, when you can do that, okay? So if you want to do a test, you can ask your family member who's living with you right now, your wife, your significant other, whatever the case may be, have them pop in, look at one of your leads and say, hey, what do you think is going to happen next to this person? And they say, I have no idea. Then there's room for improvement. So manage your pipeline of leads well. So again, pick a marketing channel, pick one channel. Okay. You guys all know what mine is. Pick a marketing channel, pick a list, skip trace that list, massive consistent activity every single day, minimum of 2 hours a day, make an offer to every seller, and then manage your pipeline of leads well. Okay. Manage your pipeline of leads well. Now, it doesn't end there, okay? So a lot of people, what they do is they invest in money in marketing, or they take massive activity, they do massive activity, but the problem is they get to a point where they get exhausted, or they feel like they put in a lot of work and they're not really seeing any results, and they don't know if they should continue. And so what they do is they stop, or they continue on, which can be a bad thing if You're not tracking your activity and what you're doing because you may be continually beating your head up against a wall, wondering why it hurts and not even realizing you're doing it. Okay. So one of the things when you're tracking your activity, okay, you want to track how many calls you're making every single day, how much time you spend into making every single day, how many contacts did you make, right? How many sellers did you speak to? How many offers did you make, right? And then from there, once you're tracking all that, you can look at all that activity over the period of 30, 60, 90 days, and you can see what led you to get your first deal, right? And if you know your own personal numbers, you can reverse engineer it for the next month. See how powerful that is? Because you're no longer wondering when you're going to get a deal. You know that if you make X number of calls. See, in our company, we know it takes anywhere from 25 to 35 cold call leads submitted by our callers to get a contract. So we're never sitting there like, oh man, when's our next contract going to come? Where's the next deal going to come from? We don't do that, right? Because we know we've tracked our numbers. We've seen how many offers we typically make, and we know how many leads end up getting us a contract. So if you know that, imagine how powerful that could be in your business starting out. Like you're just getting started, right? And now you know, okay, great. So I just got to track my activity, and whatever it takes me to do to get a deal, that's what I'm going to go off of. And it makes the business so much more predictable and fun because you're not feeling like you're throwing all this activity into this black hole of effort that you're not sure if you're going to get something back or not, right? When you track your activity, you know what you're going to get. It becomes very predictable, and the business becomes fun because then you can grow. Okay. So let's see here. View and activity, know your numbers. It's very important. And then lastly here, guys, I want to share with you, add buyers to your list every single day. Okay. Add buyers to your list. I recommend you adding 5 buyers to your list every single day. A very simple place you can find buyers for wholesale deals is Facebook groups. Facebook groups are great. And each day you either want to add a wholesaler, a cash buyer, or a realtor to your list because all 3 of those people either have money to buy your property or know someone that has money to buy your property. So a lot of wholesalers, what they'll do is they'll look at other wholesalers like I did in the beginning, and they will look at them as competition. Wholesalers are not your competition. People look at wholesalers, look at realtors, like, oh, I hate working with realtors. Love working with realtors, okay? Realtors will have buyers that you will never come across. Other wholesalers will have buyers that you will never come across. So if you're out there talking, networking, and building relationships with buyers, wholesalers, and realtors, chances are you will have a buyer for nearly every deal that you have that comes across your desk, unless you just got the numbers wrong and it's just not a deal, right? So those 3 people, a lot of people say just cash buyers on your list. I say no, you need to have cash buyers, wholesalers, and realtors. We didn't start moving a significant number of deals and scale to 7 figures until we had that combination, those 3 people on our list, right? So all 3 of those people are in Facebook groups. Those are people you can network with. You can add them to your list, and make sure you add one of those, at least 5 of those people. Okay. So could be a combination. So let's say you add a wholesaler, a realtor, and then 3 cash buyers, right? That's your 5. So a combination of all. It doesn't have to be 5 of each, right? You want to go crazy, right? But you just need to add 5 of those to your list every single day. And you know what's going to happen? What's going to happen is in 5 days, you're going to add 25 buyers to your week, to your list each week. And you know what's going to happen over a month? You're going to add 100 buyers to your list every single month. Over a year, you're going to have 1,200 buyers by the end of the year. And at that point, I mean, you're going to be able to move a lot. And what's really cool about that is you're going to have wholesalers that are going to approach you and saying, hey, I got this deal, but I don't have a buyer for it. You know, what do you think? And you're going to say, I think I can sell that to my list. They give you a free deal, and then you sell that to your buyer's list, right? You guys do what's called a joint venture on that deal. So building your buyer's list is very powerful. So many wholesalers, when they get started, myself included when I first got started, ignore building your buyer's list. They're always focusing on seller leads, right? But the thing is you need to build your buyer's list every single day because buyers are the ones who buy your properties. Who cares if you get a deal under contract? You can't sell it, right? So focus on growing your buyer's list every single day, and I promise you'll make more money. Another reason why wholesalers make small, teeny baby assignment fees is because they don't have enough buyers in their list, right? So let's say the only guy you have on your list is the guy that's been around for the last 2 market cycles. He's been doing this since the crash. He saw properties when they were dirt cheap, and now he's got it fixed in his mind. That's the only price points that he's going to pay for properties today, right? If he's the only guy on your list, sure, you can pay cash, but he's going to lowball you on every single deal, right? And that doesn't help you at all, and kind of just helps him. So what I found is the more buyers that you have on your list, the more money you're going to make in your assignment fees, not just because of having different buyers, but because now you're going to have more options, right? When you get to a point where you have 10 to 20 buyers reaching out to you every time that you send a property out to your list, that's a very good position to be in, okay? Because at that point, you're not just dealing with 1 or 2 offers. You're dealing with like 5, 6 offers. And at that point, guess what you can do? You're going with highest and best. Say, guys, we have a lot of interest on this property. Go ahead and bring me your highest and best. Well, how much you want for the property? I like to get my asking price, right? But we have a lot of interest, and there's a chance it may sell over that. So I just recommend, give me your highest and best. You see how powerful that is when, as opposed to saying, yeah, man, I'm just hoping to get this price for the property, or if they're your only buyer, being like, yeah, if I could get this number, it'd be great, right? That posture versus the second posture of, yeah, I have a lot of people interested in this property, just bring your highest and best. So that's the attitude that you can have when you start building your buyers list. We built our buyers list over 5,000 buyers, right? And we did that, and that's across 2 states. And we're in 9 different counties right now as of this video. And, I can pretty much move anything as long as the numbers make sense in the 2 areas that we're in, the 2 states that we're in. And you can get to that point too, but it didn't start that way, right? When I first started, I remember when I only had 10 buyers on my list, right? So start networking in Facebook groups. It's a great place. If you see a buyer comments on a deal, reach out to him, send him a DM and say, hey, I saw you commented on this deal in this Facebook group. I'm actually just about to start some marketing campaigns in the area here. Are you still actively buying? He's going to say, yes, I am. Great. Mind if I get your email? I'd love to get you out of my list and let you know when I get my next property out. And he's going to say, yes. You're going to add him to your list. It's an email marketing service. MailChimp's a great one. I recommend that to all my coaching clients because it's free starting out. And I think you can have up to 500 people on your list, right? Which is perfect when you're first getting started. So I recommend to do that. I can't hammer buyers enough, right? For some reason, wholesalers, even though there's 2 parts of the transaction, you have sellers and buyers. For some reason, the majority of wholesalers ignore buyers completely and they just focus on sellers. But that's why a lot of people can't sell their deals. That's why they get into a situation where they told the seller they're going to perform and then they can't because they don't have a buyer for it. So if you're in that situation where you don't have a lot of buyers on your list, then I immediately recommend you to network with other wholesalers and realtors immediately, okay? Because they have a list that you don't. Let's say that wholesaler has a list of 3,000 buyers, 2,000 buyers, and you have a list of 10. Well, immediately, because you're networking with that wholesaler, you're exposing your property to 2,000 eyeballs that you don't have on your list, right? Same thing with a realtor. If a realtor has buyers that are out of the country, you now have access to those buyers through that realtor. And treat your partners well, okay? Like if a realtor brings a buyer for one of your deals, you can either tell them to add their fee on top of your wholesale fee, or you can give them a piece of the deal for bringing the buyer. It's 2,000, 3,000, whatever you want to do, right? Whatever makes the most sense for you. Wholesalers typically add their fee on top too, but if not, and it's not possible, or you really don't have any buyers and they have all the buyers, you can do like a 50-50 split with them. We do that all the time. So hope you guys got value out of this today. And by the way, if you like what we shared with you today and you're looking to dive deeper, what I recommend is apply for coaching. And what you can do is go to virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com, fill out the application. If we like what you have to say, we'll consider bringing you on as a client and go from there. And I love to show you how to get started in your real estate journey and get to your first or next deal. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor for questions. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop those in the comments, and I'd love to answer those for you. Okay, so Sensei, awesome. I have potential leads, but I'm having a hard time to lock them up because I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm not in the U.S. I also don't have a buyer. Any advice? Yes, I do. Okay, so when you say you have a hard time locking them up because you're not a U.S. citizen, you know, that should not be an issue. So what I recommend doing is, first of all, this is actually a great question for like a real estate attorney or an accountant. I'm not either one of those. But what I would say is, if if you have leads, but so make sure I understand correctly, because I'm not sure what to put on the contract as the buyer. Okay, so you're going to need an entity, and again, this is an accountant question. I'm not an accountant, but you're going to want to have an entity in the U.S., right? You could put your name on it, but what I recommend doing is having an LLC, right? And again, I'm not an accountant, right? Having a US based LLC in whatever state that you're going to be starting to virtual wholesale in, okay? And starting that up and then putting that on the agreements. I don't like putting your own name on the wholesale, on the purchase contracts, because for tax reasons. But again, talk to an accountant, he can help you out with that. But if you get properties under contract, what you can do is you can JV with a stateside or a US based wholesaler that can help you sell those properties to sell those properties for you. So I know a lot of people that live in like Canada, for example, and they do deals here in the States. And what they do is they do one of two things. They either have a US based LLC and they lock up deals here in the States. Even though they live in Canada, they're doing it virtually, right? And then they depend on a wholesaler like me to sell their deal for them. And then from there, they split the fee 50-50 through a JV. Or what they do is they just build their buyers list up in the States and wholesale virtually, right? But what I'd recommend doing is I would recommend, if you get a deal under contract, definitely JV it with somebody. Now, just to be clear, I want to make sure that I understand. You're cold calling right now and you're getting leads, but do you know what to do to put those properties under contract? I want to make sure I understand the question. So I want to know if you know how to put those properties under contract. I don't know who I can trust to work with. I don't want to be blindsided by a fellow wholesaler. I got it. Okay. No, that makes sense. So if you know what to do to put them under contract, then what I would do is I would go ahead, and you haven't done that yet, okay? I would recommend joining Facebook groups, local Facebook groups in the area that property's in, or just join Facebook groups in an area you want to start. Got to pick an area first, okay? The way you do that is you want to look for two things. Number one, a minimum population in that area of 250,000 people, okay? And a median home price of 200,000. What that means is if you go to Google and you type in population, 2023 population, and then whatever, area that you want to start in, if that population is in at least 250,000, then it's not a good place to start. Okay. The next thing is you want to go to Google and type in median home price and then put the area you're going to start in. And that needs to be at least 200,000. You'll see a Zillow link you can click and it'll tell you. And if those two check boxes check off, then you're good to go. And that's a great area to start in. And then what I would do is start building relationships in Facebook groups in those areas. That's what you want to do. And you're going to build relationships, like I mentioned, with buyers, realtors, and wholesalers. Okay. Talk to an accountant or attorney to figure out what you need to do LLC wise to get set up that way. And then start processing leads, getting those under contract, and then working with someone stateside to sell those deals for you until you build up your buyers list. Now, you may also be able to do lead generation for somebody, right? So if you don't know how to lock up the deals, but you know what to say to someone, how to collect information on properties, you can network with a wholesaler and come up with some type of arrangement where you bring them leads and they complete the rest of the process. So for you, I would say either coaching is number one, is a great thing for you to look into, right? To make sure that all this effort that you're going to be putting in, you're going to be able to do something with it. And number two, I would say network with an experienced wholesaler that knows what they're doing and that can get your deals sold, especially if you know how to get them under contract. You have a potential deal already. Awesome. Where is that deal located? You don't have to give me the address, just what state or city and where it's located. I don't want to work for somebody. Yep. Florida. Okay. No, Florida's a great market. That's my market. Yeah. No, that's a great area. What you can do if you like. Orlando, yeah, Orlando's a smoking area. I love Orlando. That's actually one of our markets. So if you want to go ahead and shoot me an email with that deal, you can. So Chris@virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com. I can take a look at it and then get back with you through email and kind of go from there. But yeah, so the biggest thing is you need to know what a good deal looks like, right? And again, if you don't know what that is, coaching could be a good fit. But the other thing is, again, partnering up with a local wholesaler that can help you sell these deals and get them across the finish line, especially if you have a deal already. So I think that's your first go-to is Chris@virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com. CHRIS@virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com. You know how to comp and underwrite an offer. Fantastic. Great. Yeah. So shoot me an email. And from there, I can take a look at it and go from there. Awesome. Good stuff. But yeah, that's the benefit like of virtual wholesaling. You can literally live anywhere and you can wholesale anywhere in the United States, right? That's why I love virtual wholesaling, because you're not driving back and forth to properties at all. You're not limited by location. If the area that you're in is not a good area to wholesale, you can pick somewhere else and do it there. So awesome. Very cool. Yeah. Thank you for that question. Those are great questions. Anybody else have any other questions? Property with bankruptcy. Yep. There could be a few moving parts with that, but that's okay. That's something we're pretty experienced with. So, and that's another thing we talked about earlier with PropStream. You know, one of the lists you can pull is a bankruptcy list, right? And that's people who are trying to put off foreclosure, maybe a foreclosure. They're not there yet, but they are in a financial circumstance that is going to eventually lead to that if they don't do something fast. So that's definitely a great list. Awesome, guys. Well, we're almost at our time here today. So I'm going to hang tight here, see if there's any other questions here. And if there's no other questions, then we'll go ahead and end the live for today. And now you have everything you need to go out and get to your first deal. Yeah, awesome. Love it. Love it. Yeah, so you have everything you need to go ahead and start getting deals. So remember, pick a marketing channel, focus, track your activity every single day, take massive, immediate, imperfect action, and you want to go ahead and manage your pipeline of leads. When you start generating leads, you want to go ahead and stay on top of those. Take notes after what happened with every single conversation. I always have a task for next steps for the next stage of what's going to happen in that process with that lead. And then from there, just consistent follow-up. That's all it is. Great. Well, thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed the call today. Again, if you'd like to dive deeper and get the results that we're getting and our coaching clients are getting, apply for coaching. Go to virtualwholesalingmadesimple.com. Click apply, fill out the application. And if we like what you have to say, we'll consider bringing you on as a client. I will talk to you all soon. No problem. Have a great one.